Well, the Republican field for president is shaping up. 8 months before the primaries and caucuses, some big names are entering the race, others are dropping out. And take a look at this. A Real Clear Politics poll shows so-called GOP establishment names are standing out. Mitt Romney tops the list with about 17% of the vote. Of course, Mike Huckabee, who has announced he is not running, is still right behind in second place. But could a wild card jump in and grab the spotlight? Time now for a fair and balanced debate. Cherylyn Harley LeBon is a GOP strategist and a former deputy press secretary for the RNC. Ryan Clayton is a Democratic campaign consultant. Good to see you both.
Thanks for having us.
Cherylyn, let me start with you. Elaine Kamarck, who served in the Clinton administration, wrote a very provocative op-ed in today's Washington Post. It got us thinking. It's entitled, "The Serious GOP Candidates Are In," and then there was this line on the screen there. But with 8 months to go before the Republican primaries, will voters be content with this group of boring guys or go looking for someone more exciting? Cherylyn, what's the answer to that question?
Well, the answer is excitement doesn't necessarily get the job done. And what you have with the current Republican field is basically a group of candidates who are reconciling the Bush-Cheney era. What I mean by that is that you have a field that runs the spectrum of social conservatives and fiscal conservatives. And somewhere in between, we have got to find a likable candidate that's going to be strong on the economic issues, which I think we really need in this country right now.
Yeah.
But yet we have to have a candidate who's going to satisfy the base. And, you know, in line with what you said opening this statement, maybe that candidate has yet to emerge. But in the meantime,
so who is it? Come on.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm waiting with bated breath, just like you. But I think that this is what you've got. You need someone who's going to be strong on foreign policy, the Middle East.
Sure.
Yet we need someone who's going to satisfy the base.
Ryan, let me go to you. David Plouffe, who's senior advisor to President Obama, he ran his campaign back in 2008, in an unguarded moment, told the U.S. News and World Report that the one person he's worried about is Jon Huntsman, of course, the former Utah governor, ambassador to China under President Obama. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think Huntsman has a really good shot at it, especially if he teamed up with somebody like Huckabee. That would really strike fear into the hearts of Democrats around the country and really give us a run for our money. But I'd say the most exciting candidate right now is Sarah Palin, and whether or not she's going to get in the race and maybe team up with somebody like Paul Ryan, which would pretty much guarantee us from a Democratic perspective the White House next year.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to say that. Cherylyn, there's a column in the Weekly Standard analyzing the electoral map. And in fact, it concludes that the GOP candidate who would have the biggest geographical advantage in a race against President Obama is Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan.
Yeah,
right.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, having studied law school, went to Wisconsin, I know that state pretty well, and I think he's in a very strategic location because, of course, Wisconsin is one of the states that has a Republican governor now, so we know that in 2010 the voters were going in a particular direction. The other thing about Wisconsin is that it's, you know, geographically strategically located. So it's near Michigan, it's near Iowa, it's near, you know, very kind of strategic states that the GOP needs. And he has done, I'll tell you, he has done a yeoman's job on Obamacare. He was the one, he and his staff were up many late hours crunching those numbers, and I think he's done an excellent job with Medicare. At least, again, like I've said, at least he has a plan. And that's exactly what the voters want to hear. Whether you like it or not is one thing, but at least he came up with a plan.
Yeah. Ryan, take a look at the Rasmussen poll. We're going to put it up on the screen, in which a generic Republican is almost even with President Obama, and that's, by the way, fairly consistent with his approval ratings. Are below 50%, and you know this, an incumbent who earns support below 50% is generally considered politically vulnerable. That's not good for the president and your party. How does he turn that around?
Well, I think Obama's turning that around every day as he keeps doing his job. And it's very clear that the Republicans don't have a candidate that they can all get behind right now. And, you know, if they don't pick somebody soon, they're going to be doomed in 2012. And my advice to them would be, take your time. Make a very well thought out decision and take your time in making that decision, because that only helps us.
Cherylyn, I've only got about 30 seconds left. To what extent will the election be a referendum on the president's signature accomplishment, the health care law, which remains, by the way, unpopular?
You know, it's not just Obamacare, Greg, but there's so many other issues. We've got low economic growth. Unemployment is still hovering at 9%. At any moment, the bottom could totally fall out on the Middle East. I mean, it's not just the Middle East, it's Northern Africa. And it's also, you know, other parts of Africa that, you know, all these problems are just, you know, we need to make sure that it doesn't sort of go down to the Horn of Africa. So it's a number of issues. And I think that the president is vulnerable on so many levels.
All right, Cherylyn, Harley, LeBon, and Ryan Clayton. Good to see you both. Thank you.
Thanks
for having us.